I have watched people work 40 years, save every spare dollar, and still hand a third of it to taxes the day they finally try to spend it. That is the part nobody warns you about. You do the hard part, the saving, the
Sacrificing, the years of turning down vacations and new cars, and then the tax bill shows up right when you can least afford a surprise. Most people think the goal is to save as much money as possible. They are wrong. The goal is to save money in the right place, because the account you choose can matter more than the amount you put in it. During my years studying investors who thought in decades instead of days, I learned that the boring decisions, the ones nobody brags about at dinner parties, are usually the ones that make or break a retirement. Nobody posts on social media about moving $3,000 a year into a health savings account. Nobody brags about a Roth conversion. But these boring moves are often worth more over a lifetime than picking the right stock ever will be. Stay with me. By the end of this, you will know 3 specific things you can do today, not next year, not after you get a raise, not after the market calms down, that could save you tens of thousands of dollars in taxes over your retirement. This is not a trick. It is not a loophole that will close next year. It is sitting in plain sight, available to almost anyone reading this, and most people never touch it because it sounds boring. Let me tell you about a man I once studied. I will call him Mike. Mike did everything the popular advice told him to do. He maxed out his regular 401k every single year starting at 28. By the time he was 65, he had built an account worth just over $1.1 million. He felt proud. He felt like he had won the game. Then he retired and he started pulling money out to live on, and the tax bill arrived. Every single dollar he pulled out was taxed as regular income, the same as if he had earned it working a job. In his first year of retirement alone, Mike paid over $18,000 in federal tax on withdrawals he thought were his money. He never planned for that. Nobody had told him the account that felt safe was actually a partnership with the government, and the government decided its cut the day he took the money out, not the day he put it in. Now let me tell you about Janet. Janet earned less than Mike her whole career. She was a school administrator, never made more than $70,000 a year. But Janet had learned something Mike never learned. She split her savings between 3 kinds of accounts instead of one. She used a Roth IRA. She used a health savings account. And later in her career, she used something called a Roth conversion ladder to slowly move money from a taxable retirement account into a tax-free one, a little bit each year, while she was in a low-tax bracket. When Janet retired, her account balance was smaller than Mike's, about $800,000. But when she needed to spend it, almost none of it was taxed. She pulled out $50,000 her first year of retirement and paid close to nothing in federal tax on it, because the money had already been taxed years earlier at a much lower rate, and had grown completely tax-free since then. Mike had more money. Janet kept more money. That single sentence is the whole video. Read it again if you need to. The size of your account is not the same thing as the size of your life. What matters is how much of it you actually get to keep and spend. I want you to sit with that idea before we go further, because your instinct, and mine too when I was younger, is to chase the bigger number. Bigger 401k balance, bigger portfolio, bigger paper wealth. But paper wealth is not spendable wealth. A dollar sitting in the wrong account is worth less than a dollar sitting in the right one, even if the number on the screen looks the same. This is where the man I studied for years, the investor whose approach shaped how I think about all of this, taught me something simple. He never chased the flashy return. He looked for the mispriced decision, the boring choice everyone ignored because it did not feel exciting. Taxes are exactly that kind of decision. Nobody gets excited about tax planning. That is precisely why so few people do it well, and precisely why it is still sitting there, waiting for you, mostly untouched. Janet did not get lucky. She followed 3 specific rules in a specific order over a long period of time. I am going to walk you through all 3, one at a time, because if you only do one of them, you leave most of the value on the table. Stick with me through the whole thing. The first rule is this: fund a Roth account before you fund anything else, even if it means putting in less money overall. A Roth IRA works differently than the account Mike used. With Mike's account, he got a tax break the year he put money in, but every dollar was taxed later when he pulled it out, including all the growth. With a Roth, you pay the tax now on the smaller amount, and then every single dollar of growth after that is never taxed again. Not when you pull it out, not ever. As long as you follow the withdrawal rules. Here is why this specific rule matters more than most people realize. Money that grows tax-free for 30 years compounds differently than money that will eventually be taxed. Picture a dollar today. If it grows at 7% a year for 30 years, it becomes roughly $7.60. In Mike's account, when he finally pulls that $7.60 out, the government takes a slice of the whole thing, growth and all. In a Roth, the government already took its slice off the original dollar, back when it was just $1, and now the entire $7.60 belongs to you. People push back on this rule constantly, and I want to kill the 3 objections you are probably thinking right now. The first objection is, I need the tax break today. I cannot afford to pay more tax now. Fair concern, but look at the math over a career, not over one paycheck. Paying tax on a smaller number today, while you are younger and your income may still be growing, usually costs less than paying tax on a much bigger number decades from now, especially once you account for growth. The second objection is, what if tax rates go down in the future? Possible, but tax rates have moved in both directions many times over the last century, and betting your entire retirement on rates going down is a bet, not a plan. The third objection is, I make too much money to use a Roth IRA directly. True for some high earners, and this is exactly where the latter strategy I mentioned with Janet comes in, which we will cover shortly. Let me give you the arithmetic, because a story alone will not convince you the way numbers will. Janet put $6,000 a year into her Roth IRA for 25 years. Mike put $6,000 a year into a regular account for the same 25 years. Both earned the same 7% average return. Janet's account grew to roughly $405,000, all of it fully hers, all of it untouchable by future tax bills. Mike's account also grew to roughly $405,000 on paper, but once you subtract the 22% tax he owed when he withdrew it, his real spendable number was closer to $316,000. Same contributions, same years, same return, $89,000 different just because of which account the money sat in. That number, $89,000, is not abstract. That is 2 or 3 years of retirement groceries and utility bills. That is the difference between worrying every January when the property tax bill comes and not worrying at all. So step 1 in your life this week is this. If you have access to a Roth IRA or a Roth 401k at work and you are not using it, open one or start directing new contributions into it, even a small amount this week, not next month. Let's move to the second pillar because a Roth account alone does not finish the job. The second rule is this. Use a health savings account as a stealth retirement account, not just a way to pay medical bills. Most people who have access to a health savings account use it the wrong way. They put money in, and they spend it the same year on doctor visits and prescriptions, treating it like a checking account for medical costs. That is not wrong exactly, but it wastes the account's real power. A health savings account is the only account in the entire tax code that gives you a tax break going in, tax-free growth while it sits there, and a tax-free withdrawal coming out as long as the money is used for medical costs. No other account offers all three benefits at once. Not the Roth, not the regular 401k, only this one. Here is the objection I hear most. I do not have $3,000 extra a year to lock away for medical bills I might not have. Understandable, but you do not have to spend it on medical bills the year you put it in. You can pay small medical costs out of pocket now, save the receipts, let the account grow untouched for 20 or 30 years, and then reimburse yourself for those old receipts decades later tax-free, whenever you actually need the cash. The second objection is, what if I never get sick and never need it for medical stuff? After age 65, you can pull the money out for any reason at all, not just medical, and it is simply taxed like a regular retirement account at that point, so you lose nothing by trying. Consider two people again, a small example. One person spent every dollar in their health savings account each year on minor medical costs, about $1,000 a year, for 20 years. At the end of 20 years, they had spent $20,000 and had nothing left in the account. The other person put $3,500 a year into the same kind of account, paid small medical costs out of pocket from their regular paycheck instead, and let the account grow. After 20 years at 7% growth, that account held roughly $150,000, completely tax-free, available for any medical cost in retirement, which tends to be exactly when medical costs get largest. One person has $0 saved specifically for the most expensive years of their life. The other has a small tax-free fortune sitting there waiting. What that number means for your life is simple. Retirement medical costs are one of the biggest hidden expenses people underestimate, and most people plan for them using regular tax savings, which quietly shrinks every withdrawal. A health savings account lets that exact same money dodge tax at every single stage. So step 2 in your life this week is this. If your health insurance plan qualifies you for a health savings account and you are not contributing to it, or you are spending it down to zero every year, change that. Start letting it grow instead of treating it like a medical checking account. Now the third pillar, and this is the one Janet used that most people have never even heard of. The third rule is this. Use a Roth conversion ladder to move money out of a taxed account and into a tax-free account gradually, during years when your income is lower. Here is how this works in plain terms. Say you have a large chunk of money sitting in a regular retirement account, the kind like Mike used, where withdrawals will eventually be taxed. If you retire early, or you have a year where your income drops, maybe you took time off, changed careers, or simply retired before you started collecting other income, you can convert a slice of that account into a Roth account during that low-income year. You pay tax on that slice now, but because your income is low that year, you pay tax at a much lower rate than you would have paid later, once other income pushes you into a higher bracket. Do this every year for several years, moving one slice at a time, and eventually a large portion of your retirement money sits in the tax-free account instead of the taxed one. The obvious objection is, why would I choose to pay any tax voluntarily? Because you are choosing when and at what rate instead of letting the government choose for you later. The second objection is, this sounds complicated and I might mess it up. It requires some planning, true, which is exactly why so few people do it, and exactly why it remains valuable for the people who do. The third objection is, I do not have a low-income year coming up. Many people do, more than they realize, especially in the first few years right after retiring and before other income sources begin. Let me give you the arithmetic one more time, because this is the pillar people misunderstand most. Person A left $100,000 sitting in a regular taxed retirement account and waited until age 73, when required withdrawals forced the money out, stacked right on top of other income, taxed at 24%. That cost $24,000 in tax. Person B converted that same $100,000 in 4 slices of $25,000 each, across 4 early retirement years when their only income was a small part-time job, keeping them in the 12% bracket the whole time. That cost $12,000 in tax on the exact same $100,000, and every dollar of growth after the conversion is now permanently tax-free. What that means for your life is this: the tax code does not care how much money you have. It cares what your income looks like in a given year. A dollar converted during a quiet, low-income year can cost half the tax of the exact same dollar converted or forced out during a high-income year. So step 3 in your life this week is this: if you are within a few years of retiring, or you already have a low-income year on the calendar, sit down and figure out whether a small Roth conversion makes sense before the year ends. Even a modest slice can save real money. Now I need to talk about the moment almost everyone breaks, because knowing these 3 rules is not the same as living them. The most common way people fail this whole plan is not ignorance. It is willpower. They know the Roth is better. They know the health savings account should grow untouched. They know the conversion window exists. And then life happens. The car needs a repair. A vacation looks tempting. A slightly bigger paycheck this year makes the old account feel fine to leave alone for 1 more year. I have watched this exact moment happen to smart people, careful people, people who understood every number I just gave you. The plan does not die in a dramatic collapse. It dies in small postponements. One skipped contribution turns into a skipped year, which turns into never starting at all. The emotional moment is quiet. It does not feel like failure. It feels like, I will catch up next year. That sentence has ended more retirement plans than any market crash ever. It has. The fix is not more motivation. Motivation runs out. The fix is structure that does not depend on your mood on a random Tuesday. Set the Roth contribution to come out of your paycheck automatically, the same week your paycheck lands, before you ever see the money in your checking account. Set the health savings account contribution the same way. Put a single date on your calendar each December, 1 day, to review whether a conversion makes sense that year. So the decision does not depend on remembering. It depends on a date already sitting on the page. Remove the choice from the moment. The moment is where willpower breaks. The system is where it survives. Here is the sentence I want you to actually remember when this whole video fades from your memory in a few days, because it will. Save less if you must, but save it in the right place. That is the entire thesis. Not save more. Save smarter, in accounts built to protect what you already worked for, instead of accounts that quietly hand a piece of it away the day you finally need to use it. This is not really a lesson about accounts. It is a lesson about how you choose to live. The people who build a peaceful retirement are rarely the ones who found the biggest return or the hottest stock. They are the ones who made a handful of boring, correct decisions, year after year, without needing applause for any of them. Nobody claps when you set up automatic Roth contributions. Nobody notices when you let a health savings account sit untouched for a decade. But 20 years later, the difference shows up as freedom. Freedom to retire on your own timeline instead of the one your bank account forces on you. Freedom to help a grandchild without doing the math first. Freedom to stop checking prices at the grocery store out of habit built from fear. Money was never really the point. Life is the point. The account is just where you decide to store a little bit of peace for later, and whether that piece shows up whole or shows up with a piece missing depends on choices you can make starting this week, not someday.